So our compound interest formula, it's going to state A is equal to P times 1 plus R divided by N, and then it's going to raise that quantity to the T times N. So if you look at these different types of color coding, our A is going to represent our dollars in our account after some sort of time period. Our P is going to be our dollars deposited. Our R is going to be our rate of interest. Our N is going to be our times compounded per year. Now, if it tells us that it is semi-annually, that's going to give us a value of N is equal to 2. And then quarterly, if it tells us that, then our N is going to give a value of a 4. Last, we have our T, which is going to be our years. So, using our compound interest formula, our problem states, suppose $2,500 is deposited into an account paying 3% per year. So, our first pieces of information is going to be this $2,500 and then this 3% per year. And then our last portion that it tells us is that it was compounded semi-annually. So part A asks us to find the amount in the account after 10 years. So that is going to be our last piece of information here. So what do we want to do? Well, first let's go ahead and write out the information that we know. So for part A, we know that our P, which is equal to our amount initially deposited, is going to be 2,500. What else do we know? We know that our R is going to be equal to 3%. Again, we want to go ahead and convert the decimals, so that's going to give us a 0.03. We need to be super careful with what kind of interest rate we're plugging in here. Now, our N, it tells us, is going to be equal to what? Well, it told us that it was semi-annually, so in other words, a 2. And then a T is going to be equal to, it told us 10 years, so T is equal to 10. And essentially we are solving for our A here. So all we need to do is go ahead and plug this information into our formula to figure out what our A is going to be. So A is going to be equal to 2,500 and then 1 plus, it was R divided by N, so 0.03 divided by, and then our N was 2, raised to, and then the N times T, so that's going to give us a 10 times a 2. Okay, so if we go ahead and plug that into our calculator, we should get a value of $3,367.14, which makes sense because we have some sort of interest. If we got some sort of value that's lower than 2,500, then we would need to go ahead and look at our calculations to make sure we did everything correctly. Now, B asks us how much interest is earned over the 10-year period. So, in order to answer this question, we know that our dollar amount after 10 years was this $3367.14. So in order to find out how much interest we earned over the 10-year period, we can go ahead and take this amount after the 10 years and then subtract what we initially put into our account. So let's go ahead and look at part B here. So part B, we can go ahead and take our amount that we ended after 10 years. So that was this 3367.14, and then subtract what we initially put in, and this should give us the amount that we earned in interest. So that actually turns out to be $867.14, and we should be finished for part B there.